family, once again, let me take this opportunity and time to thank you for, listening to us, liking our messages, and, continuing to spread the good news. Last week, I labored very extensively on support. Today, I want to speak on something that I will also link with support, but I would want to talk about stigma. Stigma, stigma, stigma. Stigma is one thing that, has continued to terrorize, us as people. Stigma is one thing that, it takes more than professionals to deal with. It takes courage to address issues around stigma. And today I would want us to, look at stigma, and we are going to link stigma and support. But before we go any further, it has become a tradition in our shows and in our program, to not to go all out, with the message of the day without acknowledging our parents. And this we do not do because we are pushed to do so. This we do not do because it's a tradition. I'm sitting here, I'm given this platform, not because I'm special, I'm the best in all that I do, because our parents value availability. They value, one who is able, to present oneself, to be available, for service. In Pastor Strike's word, sometimes you would say, you remember the donkey that Jesus rode on. The donkey, it had nothing to do with the glory of Jesus Christ, but it is the same donkey that Jesus rode on, and he was, he received the glory. Let me, talking to you today on stigma, bring about I'll talk about 3-4 examples, or 3-4 scenarios that I have prepared, that I thought would bring the issue around stigma and the issue and tie stigma to support in a good way. Let me start the first one with a bright girl who was a learner in this particular school. The child was doing very well. Actually, the child was doing extremely well. And in doing extremely well, the school thought to recognize the child. And in recognizing the child, the school thought it would be good to invite the parents for this girl. And because quite often, teachers will be asking this girl, you are so brilliant, you are so bright. Whom are you taking after? Who in your family is this, who is bright like you? And the child, this girl child would often say, it's my father. But here is a catch. The father, the bright father, at a time when the child is receiving praises and acknowledgement, and to a point where the school want to recognize the parents in the child in the presence of parents, the parent is in prison. And this is one part that the child did not want the school to know. Actually, the whole trial and anything that had to do with the father was attended secretly, privately, that no one, got to know that, the father of this child was in trouble to the point where this man was imprisoned, and now he's serving a jail term. And when the child, had to, to inform the father that, I had to receive a prize, but the school thought it important that in giving me the prize, they should also recognize you, my parents, for being the parents that you are, the support that you afford me. And all this while, I've been telling them that you were busy at work, your work is so demanding and everything else. And it seemed to be okay at the time, but now your presence is required. And now I'm caught because you are here in prison, Daddy. How do I go about? How do I, break this? I mean, really, I've been able to deal with the fact that you are in prison. I've been able to, to do all these things. But now, the only thing that I cannot do is to bring you out. And the only thing that I would not be able to do is to continue doing what I do after the whole world would have known that, me, the bright student, the one that is doing well, has a parent who is behind bars. Let's put this one aside, we'll come back to it. We have the second one. Unfortunately, it also has to do or it deals with a girl child as well. We had a girl child who happened to be pregnant and become pregnant in a very mysterious ways. The mother could not understand. The mother has been doing everything a mother could do to ensure that she doesn't hang around with the wrong crowd. She's home early. She doesn't stand on the street with boys and all these things. This thing that parents or a mother could do to safeguard the one that they love. But hey, the child's pregnant. And the mother is trying to reason this thing out. How did it happen? How did it happen under my nose? How come I did not, see this thing coming? The mother, being the mother that the mother is, have to see the child to say, you will tell me who got you pregnant or else I will kill you. Did the mother kill the child? No, the child is still alive. Who was responsible for the pregnancy? The girl's own father. Are you surprised? These things happen. Let me quickly take you to the third one before the final one. The third one has to do with a mother whose son was in prison and was in prison for rape. And the mother was so happy that the son was imprisoned for rape and was sentenced for a good number of years. And for the whole time that the son was in prison, the mother was happy. But the time came when the child has to be released, on parole and, prison stuff. And the mother was required to, to sign for the child to be released under her care. And the mother was saying, it will not happen. I must first die before I sign that this son should come to my house. To everyone's surprise, the mother and the son lived together before the son was imprisoned. And the boy's father or the mother's husband was late. So to everyone's surprise, the mother did not want to accept the son back. as time goes by, the prison people would want to understand what could be, every time the address will be negative, the mother would not agree to the child being released to her care. But as time was running out, the mother organized, relatives and uncles and aunts and everybody, and to say, I would want to, to go to prison with you guys. I would want to go and make a presentation before, before the officials in prison, because I think there's something that they do not understand. There's something that I think they need to know about my son. And that happened. And you know what the mother told the prison officials why she didn't want the son to be released? It's because ever since the boy's father passed on, ever since her husband passed on, this boy said to the mother, now that daddy is gone, mother, you are mine. I'm not going to allow any boyfriend coming into this house. I'm not going to allow you to have any relationship. The only relationship that you would ever had is with me, your son. And every night, this boy will rape her mother either on gunpoint or at knife point. This is the reason why the mother celebrated when the son went to prison. This is the reason why the mother did not want this boy to be released. Now, having given you these scenarios, and I thought the fourth one that I wanted us to to also put in is in relation to COVID-19. I wanted, but I'm not so sure whether I should be able to fit it in. You have people who are COVID-19 who do not want to disclose their status for fear that people would stigmatize them. People would think that they were careless. They flawed the rules, the protocols, and everything else. And you're thinking stigma related to COVID-19. Of course, it's stigma. But think of a mother who has to disclose, before family, because this was never disclosed to family. Think of a mother who has to disclose before family, who has to disclose, before, correctional officers, things that has happened to her, that has been caused by her own son, that has led her to celebrate when the child was imprisoned. But, now that the child has to come out, this person have to say, this mother have to say, it cannot happen. I cannot allow this child to come back to my house, to my care. Because what it means is that this child will continue to terrorize me. And I cannot continue to live with the shame that, my own child who came from me is sexually abusing me. I'm even ashamed to say this to relatives, to people around me. I'm afraid, how they would look at me going forward. And now I'm even taking this risk to disclose this condition, because this is the only hope I have. That maybe if I disclose, although the stigma that will come after this, I'm not so sure I'm going to handle it, but I'm taking this bold step to disclose what has happened to me. And after this disclosure, I'm sure you would agree with me that tying what I'm saying now with what we shared in the previous session, where I checked between parents and children, who need support the most, and where do we get it? And in our previous session I indicated that sometimes children need more support than we ever imagined, or they need support in a way that we don't even begin to imagine that they do. But with this scenario, you can say that this is not a one-size-fits-all. In this instance, between the mother and the son, who will be stigmatized is the mother, not the child. Who will need support the most and need it urgently is the mother. Because the mother has been has been terrorized for so long, had been living with the stigma. The mother needed help, but could not voice her her terrorism, could not voice what has been going on, for fear of being stigmatized, for fear that people would from now henceforth look at her differently. And it was only at that time that uncles, aunts hear the confession of the mother for the first time. Everybody was so ashamed of the son. Everybody was so worried that this thing has been happening under their nose, and they were unable to lay their finger on it, and they were unable to do anything. They were not able to to provide the support that this mother needed, but they didn't know. So in this instance, the mother needed support. In the second example that I gave you, of a girl who fell pregnant, who became pregnant of the father, the mother had to deal with this situation. Her daughter is saying, I'm pregnant, and I'm pregnant of your husband. I'm pregnant of my father. You often have situations that confront parents, mothers in particular, or parents of any, of whatever sex, where, the issue that is causing them trouble, the issue that's stressing them, that is stigmatizing them, or that is a root cause of the stigma, is something from within. You now, in dealing with the issue relating to your daughter, you have to confront your husband. And this thing could also, it has far-reaching implications. The marriage, the relationship, the trust, everything. When we look at it, it's just a daughter getting pregnant. But when you look deep inside, it has everything. It can tear the family into pieces. It can tear the child into pieces, tear the mother into pieces. And in this instance, you have a mother having to decide, amongst these things, which one do I value the most? Which one, what do I do? How do I go about? Firstly, do I tell relatives who is responsible for my daughter's pregnancy? What about the stigma that this whole thing will cause me? What about the stigma that the whole thing will place upon this family, upon this household, upon us? And you have to deal with that. And quite often, some of these things, you think you do not have the expertise, you do not have the energy. You don't even have, for lack of a better word, you do not even know how to go about it. And I'm remembering one comment by one gentleman on conversation, where he said, when I'm confronted with things that I have no clue about, I do not even attempt to do anything. I just consult the experts. And sometimes when you are in situations such as this, you don't even have to begin to sit back, to analyze, to calculate. You just have to take this to authorities, to people who are mandated to deal with this. It doesn't need your emotions, doesn't need, how you see it. It doesn't, it just needs capacitated people that are, are assigned to deal with issues such as this. The first one that I started with the child whose father was imprisoned or was in prison, and the child continued to do well at school, but the child was confronted with a situation where she now has to possibly disclose that I cannot get my father here because my father is not here and possibly will not be here for some time. My father is in prison. You know why? It's not easy either. Because the moment you disclose, chances are, people begin to say, that child, of a prisoner, that daughter of the convict is doing well, and it won't be long until such catch up with you that as a child you find it difficult to continue to do well with given what people are commenting and saying about you or about your family, or about you, to say that you are a daughter of someone who is in prison. So given this, you would realize that stigma comes for adults, comes for children. Similarly, all of us, we would need support, be it the parent, be it the child. And given the three scenarios that I've painted, I'm saying and I'm thinking, when you try to link this to COVID-19, something that would happen to me, to you, to almost all of us, something that we do not even have control over. Do we think it's something that we should go to bed worried about, that how would people interact, how would people interpret, how would people relate to me given my status? Come on, people. this is but nothing. You know, there are issues in this life that demands, you know, our attention. There are things, you know, in this life that we need support on. Not to say we don't need support for this one, we do. With this, family, I wanted us to, you know, to look at stigma and link it with support. And also wanted us to say, you know, people that are stigmatized, people that are labeled, equally need support. And this is the support that often they do not get. And let it make it our responsibility to provide this kind of support. With this, I would like to thank you guys. Till next time.